Hi, and welcome back to Unicycle Basics. My name is Finn, and today we're talking about hopping. In my opinion, hopping is one of the fundamental skills of unicycling, and every unicyclist should learn it. To start out with, we are going to talk about the basics. For hopping, you want your cranks to be horizontal, so parallel to the ground. And then the basic technique of hopping really isn't all that different from hopping on the ground. You're going to rapidly extend your legs, using every joint in your legs from your hip all the way down to your ankles, extending your legs, pushing yourself off the ground and jumping. Just like this. On a unicycle, the only real difference is you're going to be holding onto the handle with at least one hand. I would recommend having one hand and the other hand just flailing around, keeping your balance. To start out with, start using some support, a wall, a tree, a lamppost, whatever you have. Mount on that lamppost, make your cranks horizontal, and try to hop. The hopping motion will feel quite awkward at first, but it will relatively quickly become more and more natural. Once it has become relatively natural, you can start taking your hand off the support and moving into space. Once you're able to hop maybe 15 to 20 times in free space without holding onto anything, it's time to start some new exercises. First off would be riding, slowing down, and then starting to hop. For this, really slow down to almost a stop. Once your cranks are horizontal, stop completely and then hop in place. Try to get as many hops as you can before you start riding off. Then another exercise you can do is hopping in place and then trying to control your direction. Hopping to the left, hopping to the right, hopping forward, hopping backwards, and trying to turning left and turning right. This will really teach you a lot of control. Next up is trying to get some height. At first, I would recommend starting really small. Maybe just really a stick. Put that on the ground, hop next to it, and try to jump over this. The trick here is stopping to hop before you jump over it, leaning to the side you're going to hop, and then doing one deliberate big hop. Hopping, leaning to the side, big hop. Hopping, leaning to the side, big hop. Once you're able to do that, go for bigger and bigger objects. So up until now, we've talked about jumping in place and then maybe doing one big hop onto something or over something. As you progress, at some point, you want to hop higher or you want to hop farther. And you're going to need some extra energy to do that. Where we are going to get that extra energy is from riding. We are going to cut out those small hops we did before and ride and do one big hop directly. That's called a rolling hop, and we are using the momentum from riding to compress the tire, and then from that compressed tire, jump higher or jump farther. In the beginning, this will feel really hard, but it's just a matter of starting small and then working your way bigger. To start out with, maybe start with a stick on the road or a small curb, something manageable. Then you are going to hop in front of that object and ride backward. Or you're going to hop in front of it, turn around and ride away from it. Or hop in front of it, dismount, and pull your unicycle backwards. That way, if you mount in the same place there, you are going to ride forward and your cranks are going to be perfectly lined up to jump onto that object. We want our cranks to be horizontal again, and in the beginning we're going to be riding in quite slowly. As you progress, you can ride in faster and faster, you get more and more energy. You are going to start blocking the wheel a quarter revolution out from the object. So your back foot is going to do most of the work here, and it's going to slow down the wheel and stop the wheel once the cranks are horizontal or almost horizontal. That compresses the tire, and then we use that stored energy in the tire to jump high or to jump far. Another important tip is to jump over or onto something high. You don't actually need to move your center of mass the whole height. You can move the wheel up under you. There's a bit of space between you and your seat. You can pull the unicycle up that space, but that's not all that much. So to pull your wheel up even higher,
you need to move the wheel out in front of you. As the wheel is going forward, it's also going up. The same concept works for long jumps, but you're only pulling the wheel forward for it to move forward there.
I can already hear everyone saying, looks great, but out on a ride, I don't want to line up my cranks perfectly. I don't want to ride backwards on the trail. I just want to jump over stuff as it comes up. You're of course perfectly right. Doing that is to learn the technique, start learning it in perfect conditions, and then we can go and do it in harder and harder situations. Stuff is going to come up more or less randomly on the trail. So how do we deal with that? The first tip is learn how to hop with either foot forward. That way, you've already doubled your chance of coming up to the obstacle and being able to hop up it with your cranks horizontal. The second tip is learn how to anticipate your crank position at a certain distance out. To practice that, just pick a stone on the road or pick a crack in the road, ride towards it, and try to guess what position is your crank going to be in when you ride over that crack. That way, you at least know what you're dealing with. And once you learned how to anticipate the crank position, you can also start manipulating it. To manipulate it, you can add in a little corner, or you can ride a bit of a curve riding towards it, or you can do a little hop. All that changes the crank position once you arrive at the crack in the road or the obstacle you're trying to jump over. If you're good at this, you can generally get your cranks horizontal when you arrive at the obstacle. The final tip I can give you is it really pays off to increase your maximum jumping height and your maximum jumping distance. If you can hop up 50 centimeters with your cranks perfectly lined up, then a 10 centimeter route with any random crank position becomes no problem. You can just jump from farther away and still easily make it over the route. The next topic I want to cover is drops. With drops, getting into the air is potentially very easy. Just ride on, and at some point, your tire is going to leave the ground. But landing is a lot harder, so let's talk about that first. On small drops, you can generally just continue pedaling down and land in any crank position. Just extend your legs, get your butt out of the seat, and then you can absorb the shock when you land with your legs. On bigger drops, this won't be possible. For those, you want to land with your cranks horizontal. That way you can get your butt out of the seat the most and you have the most control with your legs. To get your cranks horizontal on landing, continue pedaling mid-air until your cranks are horizontal, stop, extend your leg, and prepare for the drop. I highly recommend learning how to land with either foot forward. That way, the most pedaling you will ever need to do mid-air is half a revolution. The other part of a drop, and actually the first part, is the takeoff. There's two choices there. There's jumping off and there's riding off. Both have their advantages and disadvantages.
I find that jumping off gives me more control on where I want to land, but it requires the cranks to be horizontal and it's harder to do at higher speeds. Riding down is possible at any crank position, but I find that if the drop has a lip like this one, it's easy to get caught on that and fall down when you are going too slow.
There are two more things I think you should consider when you're doing a drop. The first one is whether you're landing into flat or into a downhill. When you're landing into a downhill, it catches some of that downward momentum and converts it into forward momentum. That way, the forces on your body are a lot lower than if you were landing the same size drop into flat. If you're landing into flat, you should still try to ride off forward, but since there's nothing really helping you to do that, the forces on your body will be higher. The other thing to consider is your body position, whether you're more forward on the unicycle or more backwards. If you're leaning more back, the chances of going over the bars are really low, but the forces on your back foot are a lot higher. So really, it's trying to find a compromise between overloading your back foot and going over the bar.
I did this drop 2 times when I was filming for this tutorial. The first time I landed quite far back and got a quite hard hit on my back foot. The second time I landed more forward and it was much smoother. When I'm landing, my upper body is folding forward to dissipate some of the energy from the drop as gently as possible.
So that's it for today. I really hope you learned something and you enjoyed watching. As always, I'll link the unicyclist.com forum and the Unicycle chat Facebook group so you can ask further questions there. This is a topic I could go really much deeper on, so if you have any specific questions about jumping, ask them here in the comments and maybe I'll make another video. See you on the next one. Unicycle Basics is a passion project for me. I'm doing to try and grow this awesome sport. So if you want to help out, the most important thing you can do is sharing these videos with anyone you think is interested in mountain unicycling. Also, like and subscribe on YouTube, so the YouTube algorithm will feed this to as many people as possible. If you want to help out with money and pay for some of the snacks I consumed when making these videos and some of the equipment I got, there will be a link in the description.